The communities in Clearwater County have been struggling with waste management for some time. The county commissioners have taken note, and one of the commissioners, Keith Becker from Becker Farm, has introduced a resolution to develop a county waste processing facility in Two Rivers. Because of the county-wide struggle with waste management, the vote was overwhelmingly in favor of developing the facility. But before we dive into discussions about the facility further, I think it's important to discuss why this is happening and why it's appropriate to do at the county level, and what a county actually is. First of all, the counties in the US are derived from the counties in England, but not the ones that exist today, the ones that are from the Middle Ages, the counties that were based on early kingdoms and shires and were really more about cultural identity than anything else. And the British colonies implemented these in the late 1600s, making them one of the first forms of local governance in the US. In the US, a county is an administrative subdivision of the state with specific boundaries and some governmental authority. These are generally geographically larger than cities and have larger populations than cities, with a few notable exceptions. All states have counties, though two, Alaska and Louisiana, have decided to name them differently for some reason. They have boroughs and parishes respectively. And on the note of boroughs, that may remind you of the boroughs of New York City, and indeed, the boroughs are counties. The number of counties varies widely by state. There's no set population threshold or urbanity level for a county. Texas went county wild and has 254 of them because everything really is bigger in Texas. And then you have places like Arizona that decided 15 were good enough. There are a few over 3,000 counties in the US, and more than half of the population of the entire country is concentrated in just 5% of those counties. And I bet you've heard of some of these counties, such as Los Angeles, Cook County, Harris County, Maricopa County, San Diego County. These are all home to some of the biggest cities in the US and very important in their own right. And then you have oddballs like Denver that decided to consolidate their city into their county. So what do counties do? A lot. More than you might realize, but maybe less too. The power a county yields varies from state to state, but generally they have an elected body that decides how to use county taxes and provide county level services. The services counties provide generally include at a minimum courts, some public utilities, public health services, parks, some regional roadways, public protective agencies such as sheriffs and fire departments, and jails. They often also have a clerk's office that helps execute elections, prepares and holds vital records such as birth, death, and marriage certificates, and they also accept plats for neighborhoods. They also hold all the property ownership information for the county and often put together GIS information, including parcel files which planners rely on. They may also have a county coroner and medical examiner's office, a district attorney, and even county planners that help plan in unincorporated areas. But they can do so much more than that. In my area, for instance, the county runs the convention center, the airport, the 911 call center, the animal control office, many huge parks, the zoo, they dredge the lake and channels, control algae blooms, have a solar farm opening soon, and they run the landfill. In other areas, they run things such as museums, beaches, harbors, clinics, public housing, and even transit systems like they do in Milwaukee County. All of this is a long-winded way of saying that the county government is a natural home for waste management facilities, and it wouldn't be unusual for the county to take over this service. So in today's episode, we're going to build a county landfill, completely customized, and we're going to try to do it as realistic as possible. And this will be the first in a series of realistic utility complexes that we build. This is something that has been a problem for a while, and I'm really excited to tackle it. We're going to build a recycling center and a landfill, and we're going to use some really interesting assets to build them. If you enjoy this kind of build, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to the channel. And let me know with a comment what you think about the build. Or if you have nothing to say, maybe just drop an emoji letting me know what you're doing this weekend. It's a great way to increase the reach of the video, and I would greatly appreciate it. And without any further ado, let's jump right in. Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building in the town of Two Rivers in Clearwater County. And we are going to do something really unique today, something that I have never done before and that I'm really excited to try. We're going to try to build a realistic landfill and recycling center. I think it's a miss in the game. The game really focuses on spamming utilities and city services like this in a way that makes them pretty unnatural. But I think that we can do better, and I pulled in some unique assets to take care of it. But before we jump into designing our recycling center and describing why it's going to be in this location, let's look at what we have for existing trash processing facilities. So you can see that we don't have a lot in terms of trash processing right now. We've got a little bit by the airport. We've got one little, I believe it's a landfill site near Belmont. We've got a couple of recycling centers and a couple of landfills in Ashland. And then we have a waste disposal unit. So that came with the Japanese content creator pack over in Van Buren. That's all that we have. So it's not surprising that we're kind of on the edge in terms of our garbage processing status. So we're building in Two Rivers really for one reason, and that is the direct access to the DDI. So that's going to allow the garbage trucks to access basically everywhere in the region, from Van Buren to Otter Creek to Belmont. Fairchild's the one that's going to be a little more challenging, but they still will be able to get to the highway and get down here. And then obviously Ashland will be well served as well. That's going to be really important because there's going to be vehicles basically pulsing from the center of the region. So we're going to need to hide this because this is a very prominent and beautiful location. We're also going to need to make sure that we're not getting too close to the water because we wouldn't want any contamination. I'm sure that that would be a consideration right off the bat and something that would really make people squeamish about this site. We're going to go for it though, and we're going to use some really interesting assets that I picked up. So if we pop into here, we can see that I have 7 new assets that form a recycling center, and we have this sustainable landfill. So the sustainable landfill was put together by Bad Tempered Raven, and you can see in the image what their vision is for this asset. We're not going to do that. That's a good idea, but I think that we can mash these together and come up with something that looks a little bit more like a natural landfill. And then the recycling center is Ivana's recycling sorting center. It has 7 different pieces, and there are 2 different versions. So the version that I've picked up is the Sunset Harbor version. And the reason why I wanted to use that one is because this will allow us to use the waste transfer facilities, and we'll be able to place those in each of the communities, and they will take their waste to this facility. I think that's going to work better in a sprawling region, but there is a version if you don't have Sunset Harbor or have a more centralized city that is just a big recycling center, and it has the 7 pieces as well. So lots of possibilities with this, and we'll take a look at each of the assets in a little more detail later on. But right now, I want to get into what we're going to do here. And the very first thing that we're going to do is get rid of those roads. This right here is going to be where we place our landfill. And we're going to do some interesting terraforming things here, because if you take a look, turn on our contours, and we can see that this is flat as a pancake. And that is not what landfills are like. So we are going to go into our landscaping and grab a single brush and take it down to my favorite brush strength, 0.03. And we're going to draw a line straight across here. Actually, we're just going to pop, pop, pop. Turn our brush strength to 100 and our size up. And I'm actually going to right mouse click this one. And then I switched over to a solid brush. I just want to make this as easy for myself as I can. And I think that this is the trick. So I've got this generally in the center. Now we're going to take our brush strength down again. And I'm going to go into the slope terrain tool, try to find the center. If I could do better, maybe I can. Let's just grab a road. So that's 34, so 17 will be our center. So that's where we're going to be sloping from. So I'm going to right mouse click right here and then left click starting at the road, just so that I have a common point that I'm starting from. And then I'm going to slope up. And I'll have to do this a few different times. Then we're going to do the exact same thing from the other side. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing from this side, but I'm not going to go quite as extreme. And maybe just feathering this out would have been the right approach. We can do that. There we go. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I just want it to seem like there's a mound of garbage right here. And I think that we have done the trick. And it's not huge. It's not huge, but if you're at ground level, it goes up and it'll get even more extreme once we add our assets. So, all right, what we're going to do here, you can see that toggleable whiteness is actually not in the build. It was mentioned in the comments that automatic info views actually is the white that comes across the screen. So using toggle it, if you activate this, so come through here and enable this button, automatic info views, and then disable it up here, you don't have the whiteness anymore. So I like that a lot. We're gonna come through here and I'm gonna just start placing these and I'm gonna overlap them. And here's the thing, if I go 3 over, you get a crease there. But if I go 2 over, it looks like it's 1. So every 2 tiles, I'm gonna drop these in. Okay, so I think we just have a little bit of garbage capacity now. Look at all these garbage trucks. It is wild. We're going to need to add some roads back here. So what we're going to do is go ahead and grab one of our rural roads, our just 2-lane gravel road, and send that in back here. I just want to loop this around, and this is going to be really important for what we're about to do. Sending it back at a couple of locations, and then you thought that we were done adding landfills? You were wrong, my friend. We're not even close. I think I'm going to leave it here. That'll do the trick for us. So now that we have this, you might be thinking, well, now what? Well, I think the first thing that we need to do is come through here and hit this with some gravel. So this will make it look like it is truly filled with dirt. Let's take our brush strength to size way down, or strength up to 100, and then draw this out. Okay, so now we have this in place, and look at all of those birds. The seagulls are just everywhere. All right, that was a little surprising. All right, now for a variety of reasons, we're going to control the access through here. So what I think we're going to do is we're going to add a gate right here. So I'm going to eliminate this. We'll add the gate through here. We're going to cut this access off and this one. We're going to reestablish this so that people could still get through here and maybe connect this down as well. And we're going to sever this connection and also sever this one. And we'll have an entry point right here. So the main point of this is that this is a facility that would be controlled access, and we don't want to let just anyone in here. So I'm going to go and give a little bit of an entryway into here. We'll say 7 units. Same thing on this side. And then we'll just go with our 2-way toll booth. And this isn't the greatest asset here, and I will readily admit that. So if you have some ideas for better assets, please let me know, because I would gladly take them. Now this, I can tell, is already a little bit too far back for what I want to do here. So we're going to send this back, move it back a bit, and send this here. The reason why I knew that is we're going to have a parallel road here, and it's going to provide access to something very important in the future. There we go. And now we'll make our connection over here. And our facility is now controlled access. And that was really what we were looking for. So we can do some things to detail this, but I think we're going to hold off until the end. What we're going to do now is give this building a main office. So we're going to go and steal a facility that we had before. And that's one right here. So this is the waste disposal unit from the Japanese content creator pack. The one thing I noticed right off the bat, and this is not me just being very perceptive, I actually recorded this episode and totally screwed it up. This provides power to the inland water treatment plant. Without that power, this whole place will go up in flames and we'll lose half of our population. So I'm just gonna come through here and let's just provide a little bit of a transformer or something to keep this thing moving. Okay, so now we're connected no matter what, I'm pretty sure. That's not a great connection. We'll fix that someday in the future. For now, I just really want to grab this waste disposal unit and move this over here. And look at all of that waste processing. That is awesome. So we're going to put this right here. And we'll think of this as the main office and maybe the place where some more noxious stuff gets recycled. Think paints and things of that nature, batteries. They take care of that right in here. So I really like that. We're going to jazz this up, and I'm excited to do that, but this at least gives us our foundation. We are going to need power and water out here. I'm going to take care of that after we think about our recycling center. So the first thing I want to do is just lay down all of these assets. So I'm going to place each one of these assets that came with the recycling center. Okay, so we've got 7 buildings, and you can see that this is the main building, but I want you to focus on something with these sub buildings. They have these little things that go across that connect the facilities. Now I would think that these need to connect back to the main facility. So that's going to dictate how we lay this out a bit. And this is going to be a cul-de-sac facility, and I think that's totally fine. This is a special use, and it's not, we just need to make it compact if we're gonna make it a cul-de-sac. So I'm going to connect that. We're gonna use some space right out here. And the very first building that we're gonna place is this, our sorting center. We'll place that right in the center-ish. And now that we have this in place, we can take a look at some of these other ones. And I want to focus on these buildings that have the connections across first. But let's see what all these are. We've got an aluminum recycling plant, ferrous metal, glass, gypsum, paper, and plastic. Really, really cool. I like this. So we're going to start out with our glass recycling plant, considering that one has one of our connections over. What I want you to see is that if we get within one tile, we can go over the top and then we can run a road underneath it potentially. I'm not going to move it like that though. I am going to use move it. So I'll hit M and then we're going to turn on snapping. And the reason I'm doing this is it's not going to cost us money again. So let's just move this over here and rotate this around. And I had to hold down Alt to rotate it and to keep clicking. But normally when I'm moving it now, because I have toggle snapping on, it's snapping to the grid. So that makes it really easy. All right, now we have this one right here. This is our gypsum. So that's like drywall recycling. We're going to hit M again, pull this over here, hold down Alt while we rotate it, and then get this over one tile away. I'm gonna grab all of these and just pull them over a tile or two. Now we need to draw a road back here. Send that right through and we'll go long. We can always shorten it up later. Now to move it, I'm gonna select these nodes and get these roads centered. And I think that they're off in the same distance. So why don't we just try to do all of them? And then I'm gonna hold down Alt. Because we have snapping on, to not snap, we need Alt. Look at that, right in the center. That is beautiful. Now, we are gonna go back into Move It, M, and we've got two more facilities that have these connections. So this one, I think we're gonna just send that right here. And then we've got this one as well. And this isn't gonna fit all that well for us, but we've got another option here. Let's rotate this around again, holding Alt. And then why don't we connect it right into this facility? So maybe you go through here, and I want to see if this makes sense. Paper, plastic, both into the recycling sorting center. Maybe that's not the best layout for it, but I think it's serviceable. We're going to run with it. And then we've got our aluminum and our ferrous metal. So we will pull these over. Now, I will be upfront with you guys and say that I have no idea what I'm doing. So if you work at a recycling center and you know that this layout is terrible, please let me know. Please let me know what I can do to make it better. It's tough to strive for realism when you don't know what you're doing. But that's where the hive mind comes together. And we come up with excellent designs and ideas together. And I can share those ideas with all of you. And we can come up with a really great layout for this. Okay, so through here, I was just adjusting things to try to make sure that it's lined up as nicely as it can be. So again, I have to hold down Alt to make some of our movements through here, but I think that it's turning out really, really well. So just pulling this tight, and now you can see that there's some gaps and spaces here. We can come in with Surface Painter and just touch those up. There we go, and I think that looks pretty good now. I'm gonna just clean this up a little bit. We're gonna fence around all of this eventually, but for the time being, I wanna focus on getting this thing operational because we're paying for all of this and it's not working appropriately. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna turn on our whiteness so that we can, whoa, look at the sky. And let's go ahead and get all of this connected. We'll put our water pipes underneath the road right where they belong. There we go. When we've looped that, just for redundancy's sake, not something that's totally necessary, but we're gonna go with it. And now we need power over here as well. And I don't want to connect directly into this. We are working over here. So let's be thoughtful about what we're doing. So what we're gonna do is run a rural or a suburban power line. I'm not sure which one, maybe this one's fine. We'll run that right over here to our substation. So it will be redundant power infrastructure from a game mechanics standpoint, but from a realism standpoint, this is not redundant at all. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn off the snap twos and we'll just get these placed. There we go. Now we should have power here. Should be looking good. Let's see. There we go. So this is really helpful for one reason, and that is that we have to go ahead and go into our budget. And we've been cranking this and it's time to turn it down. We don't need to overspend on this, which is good because our budget's in kind of a tough spot. We've already dropped $2 million this episode. We spent a lot of money on this infrastructure. Necessary, but we've already done it. So we need to be prudent with our budget from here on out. We are going to need to go into each of the communities and add in some new waste transfer facilities as well. We'll get to that at the end. For now, I want to reestablish this road. There we go. And I want to add some detail through here to make this feel a little bit better. So the very first thing I want to do is add in some diggers. So this comes with the recycling center. You get these really neat excavators and material handlers. So we'll just add one of those right here. And you know, those don't do anything, but I like it anyway. Makes me feel good. Sometimes that's why you got to do it. The next thing I want to do is really landscape well around this facility right here. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, there would be blowing materials from here. So we would want a fence around this and then around the entire facility generally. So we're going to add a fence, add some landscaping, and add in some brush. So let's start out. I love my chain link. So we're going to try that. We'll add the gates on there, and then we could come through and we have this chain link fence. And we can actually come through, turn on our line mode, click on fence. So you see how it's kind of clicking? We don't necessarily want that to be the behavior. So right here, if we select this mode, this will allow the fences to just kind of drag out with us, which will allow us to make a much nicer looking fence. So always make sure when you're drawing fences, you need to click on this option right here in the prop line tool. There we go. And the next thing I want to do is add in a bunch of grass and bushes around here. So we are going to go ahead and use the grasses that came with the airports update. And I'm going to place these manually. Okay, so we've got this kind of unmanicured grass back here, and then we're going to fill this in with some evergreens. Now, the reason for this is a cold place. We can see it's fall now, and the leaves are going to be falling off all of these maples and oaks before you know it, and lindens. So let's make sure that this is screened year-round by ensuring that we're using something that isn't going to lose any leaves. So that's why we're going to go with these evergreens, and we're going to place them behind the fence all the way around this. So this will not only make this look a little bit nicer, but it's also going to ensure that as we're doing, as we fill in our landfill, things are blowing around, those things are not leaving the landfill. They're getting caught in the tree. It's kind of a dark, but that is one reason why I would think that would be a benefit. So there we go. And we haven't done a ton of screening yet, but you can already see if you're on this road, you can see the landfill back there, but you see the grasses, the fence, and the trees, which is a much better thing to look at than what we had before, which is just raw landfill. So there we go. That is an improvement. So now let's continue our improvements. So I want to go ahead and we're going to grab a fence, and I'm going to go with something that's a little more minimal than you might expect. We're going to go with the oil industry fence. It has those spikes on the top, which would keep people out. It would also potentially, if the garbage were flying up and over, stab the garbage. So it's an anti-climb and anti-garbage flyaway fence. So we're going to go with that. I'm going to turn on only angle, and we're going to wrap this thing around the entire facility so nobody could come through here and monkey around. Now we've done a very good job keeping this to be a self-contained facility, and now we need to do the job of making sure you can't see anything from the outside world. So we're going to really fill this thing in. Actually, we got to do one thing. We've fenced all the way around this, and the vehicles are spawning from the wrong location. So we should really fix this. So if we go into building spawn points, you might look at this and think, oh my goodness, he has spawned so much stuff, or he has spammed so many of these. How is this ever going to work? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to start with an easy one, the ones that I placed along the main roads. We'll send that back to here. We're going to spin it around, and then we can come up here, copy point, and then paste it. Now that's going to work for the vast majority of them. So I'm going to go ahead and paste most of these. we're going to have some like that I have to fix. We'll get to that in just a moment. Okay, so I've got most of these now, but now for the corners, I'm going to paste these in, and then we just need to modify our x-axis, and that will allow us to get a spawn point that works. So the functionally what this means is that all of our vehicles are going to go to the very center of this. So there will be a lot of congestion in the center, but that's okay. I think that makes sense, and we can deal with a bit of odd stuff to have a well-functioning landfill. Okay, so now all of these are working, and you can see that all of the dump trucks are going in the center to take care of this. And it's a lot of dump trucks, but there is a lot of garbage collection that would be occurring. There would be private collection occurring in here. There would be public collection and drop-offs, pickups, a lot going on. And I'm quite pleased with the way that this is turning out. So now I need to put some trees around here, and it's fall, which makes this challenging, because if we come in and we look at our ashland brush, it's giving us this lovely summer pack, which is not helpful. So let's get rid of that. What we're going to do is go into Move It. We're going to go into our Marquee Selection tool and select only our trees. Now that we've done that, we can find a location that has some trees that we want to copy. So what I'm going to do is just select a little square of trees, and I can make sure I'm getting colors, and then we'll just copy this. So now I've got to be careful. I've got Anarchy on. I've got Anarchy. I have the other Anarchy on. And now I want to make sure I'm going to click through here, and I have Collision on. So I should be able to place these without accidentally going through roads and stuff. So now I've got this. I'm going to paste, rotate. That's with the right mouse button. And I can just rotate these and move these around. And this is going to be fairly dense. We're trying to hide the landfill. So that's why it needs to be dense. Okay, and now we need to be a little thoughtful around this corner because it's a little bit close to the road. So we're just going to place a couple of trees ourselves. And again, we are going to need some evergreens. So we might actually just plant a bunch of evergreens to hide this. Okay, so now let's look around and see how this looks if you're on a road coming in. And it's a little light there. That's okay. It's okay seeing a building. It's not so great seeing a landfill. This is pretty good. And you come around here and you see forest, not garbage. Little light right here. That's okay. You're still seeing trees. So we've accomplished the goal here, which is to really kind of hide this thing. It's a little light here. So maybe this is a spot where we want to add in some landscaping again. So let's just go ahead and again, use Move It. And then why don't we use some of our fall lindens through here? And we'll go with a middle-aged linden. Oh yeah, that's nice. That's nice. Just because it's a landfill doesn't mean it doesn't need to be it can't be a classy landfill. So, classy landfills for the win. And that's way too close. We'll go maybe 10 or 11. And just make it seem like someone cares about this place. Because we do. It's important to the entire county. And I like the idea of using some smaller trees to show that there's some intentionality behind the screening here. Like in the future, they're going to be screening these facilities out, but for the time being, the trees are still growing. It takes some time. The best tree is the one that was planted yesterday. And the next best tree is the one that's planted today. So we can roll with this a bit. There we go. And by golly, I think that's pretty darn good. I'm pretty pleased with how that turned out. And but we've got a couple of things we need to look at here. And I think it's really our traffic control. So first of all, before we get there, we've got a county highway right here. We're going to upgrade this to be a county highway as well. That would be absolutely mandatory. Then we'll send that across here. Upgrade this bridge. And I don't know that we get much further than that. This gets us across the water, which will get us over to Belmont. So that's probably better than nothing. And now we need to look at some of our traffic control here. So let's pop through. And I want to make sure that this is signalized. So we're going to signalize there. Some stop controls here to ensure that we don't have traffic backing up. And our traffic right now, if we take a look in just a moment, we'll see how we're doing. I think it's bad, but we have a reason for that and we have a fix in the future. So there we go. I added a signal here just in case so we don't have lots of backing up. So let's take a look at our traffic. 75%. I think that's actually low. There were some comments that recommended how I could fix this, and I'm going to implement that soon. So not today, but soon. Look at that. Now things are functioning well, and we can go through the other communities and get them ready to have their garbage picked up. So what we're going to do, we'll start over in Ashland, and we've got a whole bunch of garbage stuff going on here. So you see that the building is emptying. That's because I have had a mod since the very beginning called Empty It On. Now with the landfills, this mod is absolutely essential. So we're going to take some liberties here, and we're just going to come through, use Move It. And I'm going to select all of these facilities and just eliminate them. So that actually feels pretty good. All right, now we're going to come through and I'm going to fill this in with dirt again. And because we always have to, we're going to reset Torgerson's. There we go. We're selling implements again. Now we're going to go ahead and use one of our waste transfer facilities. We'll focus that in the same spot we were in before. And what this is going to do is pick the garbage up in town and take it to the waste, to the waste processing complex, the county landfill. So this is going to be very, very useful and do the exact same thing. Hopefully grab the garbage and send it over here. We'll have to see how it all works out. Why don't we go over to the airport next? And we have a recycling center over here. So we're going to eliminate this recycling center. And now I should be able to place this. Now this is a tight fit. So tight that it doesn't work. So I think we're going to relocate this out of here and into Fairchild, or the general Fairchild area. So we've got this substation back here. This is probably a location that could handle that the waste transfer facility as well. So that's where we're going to put it. It'll provide great access to the entire area. This is not a very flat site. So let's be responsible and let's grade it first. I wouldn't call this beautiful, but I would say that it works well, and that ultimately, that's kind of where we're at. We want this to work well. So again, I'll copy some trees, copy it, make sure that all my anarchies are off so that I can hide this. Okay, so we're good in Fairchild, the airport, and at the military reserve base. Now we are coming over to Belmont, where we have this. So we've got this landfill site. Again, we will use Move It to eliminate this because I can't delete it. So select it, hit the delete button, and we can add in another one of our waste transfer facilities. And I'm Control Hing this to the height of the road. Probably should have graded this. Looks pretty bad. Can I deal with it? I cannot. I cannot deal with this. This is too bad. There we go. That's probably more appropriate anyway to have this coming off from there. I should upgrade this so that it's not just, there we go. That looks a little bit better. And I think it's more natural. We could even move this over a notch to give some separation, as much as I'm sure the park maintenance building wants to see this right there. All right. So just a couple more communities. We don't even have one over here. I don't know how necessary it's going to actually be in Shorewood, truthfully. The main reason is it's really close to the landfill, so the landfill should go over here and serve it. That said, we will add one over in Otter Creek, and that should serve both locations. In fact, I think we're going to add that right off this highway here. And I believe that we're going to need water here. Let's double check. Yep, we don't have water here. So that would be one thing that would make this a less than suitable location. That said, they would likely have a well, so let's not get overly crazy about it. And then we will add power over here as well. Very, very good. And then last but not least, we are going to go over to Van Buren. And I think we might even give something to Johnson Creek over here. It's far enough away, it's disconnected enough, and you can see that we actually have garbage piling up back here already. No reason not to provide one of these. So I think we're going to keep this, we'll hide it back here a ways. I don't know that there's a right or a wrong location for this. Maybe more right is there water pipes already underneath the road? There is. That's the cheapest location for it. We're going to do the exact same thing over here. Put it in an inexpensive location. And just because we removed that garbage site over here doesn't mean that this is not a waste, or it doesn't mean that this is not a utility campus. This absolutely is. It's a nice chunk of land, but we're going to use it for utilities in the future as well. So you got to have utilities. Even though the land is nice, there's lots of nice land all over the place. So with that, I think that we've blanketed most of the community, and I'm really curious what our income is going to do. That is something that I'm concerned about. That said, I think that as let's take a look at our budget to see what's going on in here, because it's a bit of a concern for me. And I think our education system is really what's causing us to be negative right now. And I know why, and I hate to do this. But let's come over here, and we have a universal education policy that is really expensive. So we're going to get rid of that, and look at that garbage piling up here as well. And maybe there is some value in having another transfer facility for the garbage over here or back this way. We're gonna have to see how that plays out, because I could see that being of value. Look at that. Oh, so this is a problem with the Plazas and Promenades DLC. So while I'm over here, while I see it, we're just gonna upgrade these away from Plazas and Promenades. And that should solve our problems there, because now the garbage trucks can actually come on the road. So that is super unfortunate. Very, very, very much dislike it. But it was nice to see that there's already a garbage truck back here, and it's going to the landfill. So I think we need to give this area a name and fix some of this up. Obviously, being part of the farms is not going to happen anymore. So let's adjust that. And it's now the Clearwater County Landfill. And I'm really, really digging this. Let's check out our traffic, see how it's doing here. Backing up a little bit through here, but it's still flowing. It's still moving well, and that is what we were looking for. And I am very curious, if we take a look at our routes, are we going everywhere? So I'm going to click right here, and I just want to see, are we going to every community? So I'll turn off the names. I see Fairchild. I see Belmont. See everywhere but Otter Creek, but that's okay. That could be because of this facility right here, and that is good enough for me. So this is working really, really well. When we take a look at this, our capacity is going to be through the roof. Each one of these facilities is 500,000 tons of garbage. So we should be easily set for the rest of the build and not need to worry about garbage ever again. Check out this. Our storage capacity is massive. Our processing is very, very good. That's the one thing we might need to improve over time. And I didn't mention this as I was building it, but I left a bit of extra space back here just in case we need to take down some trees and add on to this facility right here, add some additional processing. Obviously, we could add more than one of each building type if we wanted to. And I'm really pleased with how this is turning out. I think that we need to zoom in, admire Avanya's work, and have a brief city tour. And at night, it is just as dark as could be in that landfill, and that is exactly what we want. This is not a place that we're concerned about lights, making sure that it is well lit or illuminated just inside and around the facility, and it looks like the lighting there is good enough. I guess we could add some lighting around the parking. That said, this is in the county, so I would expect that the regulations and restrictions and needs in this area are just generally lower. The county is not going to require the same amount of light as a Van Buren, for instance. So we just don't have to worry about it. And we're going to build as we want. So I do want to know if you guys happen to know of a better asset to use as a gate. You know, I've tested unlocking this road and replacing it. It does work. It just looks really weird. So if you have a better idea and a better way of making this work, I would be all ears and would love to hear it. That said, I think we're going to leave it here. And I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. If you did, please hit the like button. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. And I really cannot wait to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.